Um, what are you seeing any? Are you able to get in touch with people? Are you doing skip tracing? How are you working your deals like that?
Well, that's the other thing. I haven't gotten very good. I haven't really done the skip tracing much. I need to go back on and watch watch one of the videos on the VIP quick start. But right now I'm just old school on it, and I'm friends with a builder down in another little town in Virginia, and I kind of have him. He's always out, scouting things as well. So I haven't really talked to him. I haven't really called anybody in the last few days, honestly.
Okay. So what are your plans? What would you like to see happen?
Well, get back into start getting leads and actually calling those leads, and get on. Last night I was going to get on the call lab with Justin, but I ended up working later than I thought, so I just had to listen in last night. So my goal is by next Monday, I want to be able to have leads to call, and then jump on the call labs throughout the week when I'm able to. Could you hear any of that?
I was saying, so we had an outage in our area as far as internet last night. So hopefully it's all over. So we got Muhammad coming in. John, can you unmute your mic?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. First question I want to ask is, how do you get your background to fade out like that? Is it a setting?
Yeah, you go to the video settings and you go into blur.
Okay. I'm gonna try that. I want to see this. Blur. I have mirror. I have touch up my appearance. And then adjust for low light. That's it. Let me see.
All right. When you go to your video, you got your stop video. There's the arrow. You click that. You'll like mine shows my webcam, and then it says choose virtual background.
Yep.
Click that. I've got none, blur, and then a bunch of different backgrounds. I use blur.
Oh, got it. Okay. I don't have blur. I'm gonna have to upload that from
Yeah, you probably just have to update it or something.
Yeah, I have to upload that. Okay, cool. I like that. So what's been going on with you, John?
Oh, well, I haven't been doing a whole lot of calling. Had a graduation for our son out of town, and just got out of the hospital earlier today.
Oh man, what was that about?
Because of my shoulder stud, I got more injections.
Oh wow, that sounds painful.
Yeah, it is, but it's supposed to make it better.
Okay. What kind of injections are they? Like steroid?
That a combination, but yeah.
Pain relief and hopefully something to help it recover.
Yep. Well, they're avoiding everything they can do to do surgery.
Okay.
And I needed surgery 3.5 years ago.
Oh wow. So you're not able to do a whole lot of stuff with that arm, are you?
Not really. I mean, I can, but give you an example. I finally got a script. It was a cream. I ended up getting it covered through regular insurance because workman's comp was never covered a single anything. So I tried it, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's supposed to go inside the muscle and all that stuff. And I went out and tested it, and yeah, I've been in pain ever since. Because even though it took care of that pain for that moment, it's that movement and everything that I did for that hour.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. I got in an accident back in April of 07. And it was a guy turned in front of me. There was me coming. There was a truck here and me on this side, and we were passing through an intersection. The guy, as soon as the truck passed him, he just turned, and it was just too late, right? So anyway, hit the guy, airbags deployed, and I guess the seatbelt snatched, right? And it damaged nerves in my leg. and I've been dealing with it ever since, right? And I still can't stand the lawyer because I had this one lawyer. She was supposed to be a friend, but she was a lawyer. But come to realize that she was all into some kind of woo-hoo, create. She was a Buddhist,
Okay.
and so she was all about extra right. And to this day I'm still suffering from this leg. In fact, I just got a steroid injection in it, and they gave me a new newfangled Tim's machine to try to see if I could do it. But I know exactly what you that constant having to deal with some part of your body is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be so bad, but when I do start using it, like if I go any back and forth movement, it's very comparative what they compare a feeling of a heart attack to.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That pain in the left side. So what it does is it encompasses from back here, goes all the way through my side and up in here. And it's excruciating pain. It'll go on for hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. That's horrible. That's horrible. Nothing like, because I'm thinking right now, if you were having a heart attack, you might not even know.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
You'd assume it's the same thing, right?
Yep. Because the first couple times that it happened after whenever it started kicking in, my wife actually was, I'm going to call 911. I'm like, no, I'm not having a heart attack.
Right.
Yeah, I was laying on the ground, and she's like, man, you're almost in tears, because I got a ridiculous tolerance to pain. And
yeah.
So I can't tell the difference between, okay, this is serious or not, because
right.
broken bones and continue down with my day.
Wow. Yeah. No, see, I thought I had tolerance. I don't know if I can handle a broken bone and keep going though.
I think my parents and grandparents put in me.
Oh, okay.
Well, Jonathan, you have a great demeanor to be going through that level of pain.
Well,
right.
Don't get me wrong. I've been extremely angry about it, but I try to look at what's in it for me. A few blessings happened. We got to see Mom for her last week. If we would have moved back when I was supposed to, if this didn't happen, because we were going to move back to Arizona, we would have missed her last week with her. So, there's a blessing in the skies. I get more time with my family. So it keeps a little more order in the house. It sucks because now I'm down $60,000 a year plus, but hey.
Yeah.
So now it's time to work on this and get myself over all my misconception fears, I guess. It looks like he froze.
He did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
we got
to hear me.
Yeah, now we
can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Lost you for a moment.
The only one that was moving. It looked like all you guys were frozen, but I'm getting your internet is unstable message, which is like so tired of this.
I bet.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said no. I feel you on that, because you feel you probably have the best that what they say is the best that they offer, but what's the problem?
Yeah.
Why is it not coming to you the way they represent it to?
Yeah, I used to work for the cable company, so I can tell you, it doesn't matter what speeds you have, it doesn't matter what service you have, it's all
bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've got their top speed right now. It's supposed to be 400, and I lose signal. I cut out. I'll be spinning, buffering.
Wow.
Yeah, and I even hooked it up myself.
What do they have to? I guess. What do you think it is? They have to upgrade the servers.
What it is, and this is from being, on the outside of the inside. The company, what they'll do is they'll buy a bunch of stuff at bulk. So, example, they had another cable company nearby. They're nationwide. They had sold all of their equipment that was garbage. Well, this company, the cable company here, went ahead and picked that stuff up for, say, 10 cents on the dollar. And then they put it out into circulation. Well, the other company got rid of it for a reason.
Right.
So now what they've done is they've picked up all of them problems.
And they
So-
put it out and they don't put it out in circulation for 10 cents on the dollar.
Right.
They
charge
put it
people-
out in circulation for 300 cents on the dollar.
Right. Yep.
You know. Well,
We lost Vickers.
we lost Victor again. Can you hear us, Victor?
I don't even see him. Justin just got in.
I actually worked for Bell Atlantic Mobile back in the end of '99 to about 2002. I
What'd you
worked
do
in
there?
huh?
What did you do there?
I worked in the central offices, wire wrapping the panels,
Okay.
and then installing power and fiber, etc. as it progressed. But did that for about 3 years, and the company was bought out twice, and they ended up sourcing it out to another company, and they laid a bunch of us off, and the rest is history.
I've experienced that. I used to work for Jeep. I had 10 years, 9 years and almost 10. Indefinite permanent.
We've got a few others on here with us. Victor, you there? Looks like I see a few other participants, but we've lost our host momentarily. It's almost like it's just me and you on a Zoom call, Jonathan.
Sounds good. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, just getting this wholesaling and creative lease options game going, right?
How long have you been working on this?
Just under a year, about 9 months. I've looked at it. I looked at it years ago, and but I own a pest control business, and for about from '02 to about 7 years, I was in the mortgage business from '02 to '09. So right around the time of the when the market, when everybody was upside down in their mortgage, and things really changed in '08, '09, around that time, if you remember.
Yep. Oh, I do. I
So-
actually had money at that time, but didn't know what I know now.
Right.
Had over 100,000 in the bank. And sad thing is, I wanted to do real estate, but I didn't know this aspect of it. I was raised and brought up.
Same here. Yeah, same here. So it's hard, it just I just look at it as a habitual thing. I just stay in it, listen to it, participate as much as I can, and some of it comes in through osmosis, and then just keep running the numbers, etc. And it just starts to click.
Right. Yeah.
Is that your experience as well?
It is. And then my biggest problem is my own internal fear of, throughout the past couple of years, I've been learning this. You hear all these, illegal this and illegal that, and it's like, that's pretty much the only thing that's holding me back. I've done a few offers, put a few under contract, but then backed out because I didn't know how to release, close them, get them sold. So
as long as you can get them under, if you think it's close to working, if you get them under contract, the worst thing, is that, really generally the worst thing is that it will expire on you, but it gives you time to tweak it and run it by somebody else in the group, to.
I have a question.
And
you might know, on the lease options, this is what one thing that's got me confused. So you do the lease option, say they go for the lease option, you put X amount down, and it suggests through people, listening to them, 1 to 2 months, 3 months, or a small, like 3,000 to 5,000 or something like that, depending on, the price of the house. Then you set an agreement on a monthly payment, do you actually go to closing on that, or do you set your time frame X amount of days out to find yourself a tenant buyer for that?
All right, that might be beyond my abilities, but I have one lease option that I'm involved in right now, and I'm on a 7-year plan with that. So, and it's actually one that I'm going to purchase for myself. So, I really can't tell you answer that one, but if somebody else is listening to that, maybe they can
Well, how did
help you with that one.
How did you do that one for yourself? Because I'm actually looking at one. My wife wants to move closer to where she works, and I have a possibility for that. And it would actually, I could rent my house out to someone I know that's looking for one, and then put myself in there half price.
Well, that's something I definitely would be willing. I can give you my number, and we could talk after this if you wanted to, and I could actually send you the exact paperwork that I use to do it, and chit chat with you about it a little bit if you want.
That'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, let me punch in my number real quick. I'll do the best I can to help you, but I'll show you exactly what I did on this particular deal for sure.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, and maybe it'll give you some insight.
You guys hear me?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Now I can hear you. Yeah, you went robot a little bit, but I can hear you now.
All right. I don't know if I even have a whole bunch of controls right now. I don't know what the heck is going on with this thing, but give me just 1 second. Looks like we got a bunch of people waiting to get in.
Did you get that, Jonathan?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Just sometime.
All right. Looks like we're back.
Sounds good.
What's your time zone?
Eastern. I'm in Virginia Beach.
Okay, I'm in Ohio.
Okay.
All right, you guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, looks like we might have gotten over some of the technical difficulties. Let me see. We got to get back on the live stream, figure out where we were. All right, so let's talk about some challenges we might be having, or if anybody wants to do some role play. I know you guys haven't been doing a bunch of calling this week so far. Is there some?
Lost you again, Victor. Hey, Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
When he comes back on, maybe run that one by him as well, and we can still talk this afternoon. But
Right.
Yep. But like I said,
Can you guys see me?
yes.
Okay.
Coming through now.
All right. Man, I'm going to try to do my best to just get through this. I have no idea what's going on with the internet. It looks like it's strong. I just actually had to restart my computer. So I appreciate you guys hanging on while I went through all of that.
Of course.
Don't know what that's about.
You got Spectrum, man? You got Spectrum?
Yeah, doesn't everybody? They have a monopoly.
Yeah,
That's why we can't get any better service.
Yeah, mine's cutting out too, man. I mean, it just completely shuts off.
Yeah. Rick is here in
really weird.
California with me, so we're probably along the same system. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is, man. It's happening here too, though. So I'm around LA, you know that. So it's not. Yeah, it's all over, I guess. Hell.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So I won't just die from terminal uniqueness.
You're still unique, but
You know what I'm saying? Where you think it's just you, right? I suffer from that sometimes. But look, let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing out there in the marketplace, because we're kind of in a situation right now where we got all these people who have want something for their property that's just completely out of line. So a lot of what I'm seeing, especially when it comes to low hanging fruit, what I call the low hanging fruit. And the reason I call it that is because, these people have raised their hands and they said that they, they want to do some business, right? But everybody who I've seen, or most of the people that I'm dealing with, they are like unreasonable. Like it's difficult, right? And I'm seeing people get some stuff under contract, and I'm monitoring, even though I'm not participating much because I got a bunch of stuff going on, but like the call lab and stuff, right? So I'm in the call lab. I'm seeing them making calls, and I'm seeing even some of them, getting some contracts and stuff. But I'm curious to see how many people are actually getting to close, because I've had the same problem. I've had 4 contracts, that never got to close because it just got all hemmed up, and people got better offers, and people waffled, and people said they were going to do stuff. So it's getting a little bit more difficult. So when I
I
look
thought it
at
was
the
only me.
No, Muhammad, it's happening. It's happening to all of us, man. I got some property out right now, right? And I put out some flyers, and I even tried to co-wholesale it with some other, wholesalers and stuff, right? But one of the things I'm noticing is there's a lot of, really young wholesalers out there that have kind of gotten into the game, and they're in hustle mode and stuff, but they don't understand what it takes to really put all of these deals together, and making sure that your end buyer is solid, and that they're vetted, and that you've been able to get what you needed from them in order to be able to close the deal. Because there's a lot of people just falling out at the last minute. There's a lot of people playing games. And then I think one of the things that's happening too is that people are not really adjusting their offers for what the market really looks like nowadays, especially when it comes to material costs. So I was talking to one of my, flipper buddies, and right now he's absolutely and completely, stagnant. He doesn't have any deals that he can do because he needs to get deals now. Remember, we always have worked on the 60% rule, right? Like that always seemed like it worked. Well, it doesn't work right now, because of the cost of materials. Materials have gone up 150, in some cases up to 300%. If you go out to Home Depot or Lowe's or the lumber yard or whatever, and you see the cost of a 2x4 and compare it to what you bought a 2x4 for a year and a half ago, it's 3 times, sometimes 4 times the price of the 2x4, right? So now, if we are going to do the flip game, if we're going to do the direct wholesale game, you guys got to understand that you now have to negotiate your prices, and you're looking at ARVs, and you have to stay either 50% or less in your acquisition. That's kind of difficult right now, right? So assuming that that's a problem, right? Assuming that
I think we lost you again.
Tell me when you can hear me. I'm gonna keep.
Got you now.
Got you
Got me
again.
now? Okay, good. So it'll probably do that. I keep getting your internet is unstable messages and stuff. So just keep doing what you're doing. Let me know when I fade, because I can't tell until after it comes back. But so with that in mind, what are some ways for us to thread water until the market moves in our favor? Any ideas? Okay, so I have one that I'll
I think
I'll
it's
share.
just
Go ahead, Muhammad.
okay.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to say I think it's a numbers game. You just got to keep talking to sellers to find the right one, the right fruit.
Okay. And when
You
you talk to those sellers, what are you looking for now? What is your target right now? Are you a wholesale guy, or are you a lease option guy, or are you
I'm
play by ear? Let's see what turns up, and then structure accordingly.
okay. Right now, I'm looking for lease options. Like yesterday, I sent out 200 messages, 217 messages,
Okay.
and I got one yes. One yes.
One
And I
yes.
sent him one yes.
Okay.
The problem was when I sent him, when we got on the phone together, and I sent him the lease option contract, he was like, yeah, he's going through it, but he doesn't want to sign the contract. I should just send him the tenant buyer, and when the tenant buyer pays him the down payment, he'll give him my cut. I was like, that's not how I work. It doesn't work like that.
That is not how anybody with any sense will work, because you know.
Exactly. I said that's not how it works. That's not how I do things. I was like, first of all, how I can't market a property I don't own. The contract gives me the right to start marketing property.
Yeah.
Because I could get in deep water for that. If
Yeah.
I start marketing property that I don't have a contract on, I will get in trouble for that. So it's not going to work. I told him, and besides, we have to go to an attorney. So all what you're telling me right now, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It was like, you know what? There's a way I do my thing, and there's a way you do your thing. I don't think we can work together. I was like, yeah, I don't think we can work together because it doesn't work like that. I can't do that. Like, thank you very much. And I was like, thank you too. And that's it. And I dropped the phone. But
yeah. Okay.
This was yesterday, so.
I know exactly what you're saying. I'm experiencing that exact same thing. I'm literally calling into a certain level of arrogance on the other end of the phone whenever I'm talking. Right? You know that feeling?
Yeah.
It's like
It's ridiculous.
you basically are getting arrogance on the line, right? It's like,
exactly.
And one of the other things that I'm seeing too is that there's a lot of the people who are advertising out there who aren't listing their homes, they are investors that
Us again, Victor.
Wow.
okay. Tell me when I'm back.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
All right, good. Thanks. So I'm talking to a lot of other investors who are liquidating, right? And they know the whole game.
Yeah.
They understand wholesaling. They understand lease options. They understand, but they also understand that they could do that on their own, right? So that's
exactly. Yeah.
So that's been my challenge that I've been running in. So, obviously, rather than, obviously we're not going to give up. I'm definitely not. So I'm looking at, okay, so what are my options as far as this is concerned? Where are the opportunities? So Justin had a guest on his Saturday show that I believe his name is Jerry Miles, who was talking about the Google. It wasn't Jerry. It might have been. I think it was Jerry who was talking about the Google grant that they do. Google does a thing where they will offer as much as $10,000 a month for you to have as marketing money. Okay. So he charges quite a bit to put you in the system, but you can learn the system on your own. It's just gonna take a little bit longer, right? But that's one thing that you can do to kind of short up and have enough tentacles out there to actually have the chance to come up with a deal, right? So then what are some other methods here? So here's another technique that I've run across that I'm working on right now. It's okay. So they're not going to be making any more, housing starts are down to like nothing. The only people that are continuing to build houses are the major builders, the Hortons and whatnot of the world, who have already warehoused a large amount of material, right? But even them, they're having to put these houses out there at ridiculous prices. We all know that as soon as they have to do anything about interest rates, a lot of those houses it's going to be a problem for people because they're going to be over leveraged, right? And so now it's going to take a lot of people out the market. So right now, what I suggest you do is exactly what you guys are doing, which is to, keep the knife sharp. Just stay in the game, keep doing your training, keep doing your learning and stuff, because the market will turn. But in the meantime, what do we do? So one of the things that I'm doing, just to let you guys know, is I'm doing what they call special needs housing. Okay. And what special needs housing is, understand that there's a segment of the market, most of which is government sponsored, right? And then there's also a segment of the market that serves the, you know, the top 10%, the affluent ones, right? What are those markets? Well, the affluent ones, they send their kids to school and they pay for their schooling and they pay for their housing. So student housing is still a good market, right?
Okay.
Residential assisted living.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Okay,
Let me know.
get back on.
Okay.
You're back.
So the residential assisted living, I was going to go there only to find out that, you know, I really just didn't want the liability. And even though it brings in a lot of money, the insurance and everything else that goes along with residential assisted living just didn't, you know, feel right for me, right? And so what I did is I have a couple of friends who are in assisted living now. And so I connected with them and kind of asked them some questions and stuff. And what I found was that, you know, they're working their ass off. And COVID has made their life impossible because you know, they're having more problems and more people are actually passing away. Why are they passing away? Well, because they have no connection now. A lot of those people couldn't have visitors. A lot of those people couldn't communicate with their families effectively, you know, and you know, they were having to come up with more money to do things like video. Well, actually the tenants have to do that, but you know, they try to do video conferencing and stuff like that to try to keep these people, you know, connected. My point of all that conversation is simply that, to me, that hill was just too steep to climb and it cost too much to get there, right? So there's another area where you can deal with people who are going to be placed in the properties that you have available. The advantage of this process is that the properties are, you're not going to be involved in any kind of care. And that's where I really got to when it became important. It's like, okay, I don't want to be involved in care. I don't want to have anything to do with, you know, me having to make sure that this person gets insulin or that this person has to take their medication. I don't want anything to do with that. And then I realized also that I didn't want anything to do with delinquents, you know, or drug people or anything like that. Now, I have all the sympathy in the world for them, right?
Yeah.
Distinct from anchoring my wagon, tying my wagon to their situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
because there is so much liability and risk. Because, like, for instance, when you deal with drug folks, they could take a turn on any moment, and next thing you know, you got a problem. Anything from a burnt down house to a assault or whatever in your properties, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a negative view. I know it is, but you know, when I think about my tolerances and what it is that I want to deal with, it just wasn't something I want to deal with. So
That's not one of.
Go ahead, Muhammad.
I said that's not one of the. That's not one of them.
Yeah, exactly. So I do know this. There's a population out there that has access to government support, that all they need are living arrangements. You don't have to own the living arrangements. That was important to me too, right? Because I spent all of last year just basically accumulating cash, right? Which I'm dealing with a tax situation now that's about to choke me, but that's another story.
Wow.
I've already filed my extension.
When you do this deal,
Because going-
folks, you make sure that you know you tax plan, man. Do not sleep on the tax plan, because you know, if Sam finds out you've been hiding money or whatever, I mean, you could probably work it out. Uncle Sam is not nearly as horrible as a lot of people make him out to be in terms of working with you. Like I've walked into the IRS office and sat down with some folks, and you know, they're willing to do whatever because they're willing to get whatever. They're not really trying to put you in jail. Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I was just going to say, it only gets ugly with IRS if you ignore them,
Exactly.
and they have to come tell you what they need from you.
Yeah. If they kind of have to come look for you, they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
And then-
anything else. It's like
and
you
then
loan
he-
people money, you're fine as long as they don't pay you back, as long as they communicate, right?
Yeah,
But don't
and then
make
even,
them come look for you.
yeah, and then even after that, they'll once they confront you and say, hey, that they'll be nice again, but you gotta communicate with them.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm working it. I'm gathering up a bunch of documentation to show where I spent money with intention, and all of that, and it's knocking down my burden quite a bit. Okay, but so
Awesome.
my criteria when I was thinking about, okay, so how can I get some people in some houses that will pay me some rent and that I can count on? So I'm working right now, and I'm currently doing my outreach to a lot of I'm working with the VA, and there's a couple of other systems that I'm trying to get myself plugged into where there is no care involved. All you have to do is you have to provide. They don't pay for anything. The government cuts you a check, and when they move into the house, they have all the utilities are paid for. They have internet that's paid for. They have television that's paid for. So you basically provide everything, right? Every tenant has to have a room of their own. But here's the deal: that in some areas they're paying as much as $1,850 per tenant. So if you got a 5-room house, and in this case, like for instance, when I was looking at the residential assisted living, there's nothing you can do with stairs. Well, since the 90s, a whole bunch of houses are 2-story. If you walk in, you drive through a lot of neighborhoods, that's the model. That's the model that started around the late 80s, 90s, right? 2-story homes. So a lot of those homes, even though they're 5 bedrooms or whatever, they were not conducive to doing the residential assisted living, right? So now that's another problem. So how do you overcome that problem? Well, you overcome it by housing healthy people. So where do you find healthy people? Well, there are certain programs that the federal government, state government, local municipalities, or county administrators have a bunch of money for. So here's our advantage. If you move into that area, they have to spend that money, but they can't advertise for what they're looking for. Sounds like typical government shit, right? Like they cannot reach out to you for their needs. You've got to figure out what their needs are and then provide them with a solution. Okay, so where's the opportunity? The opportunity obviously is, besides the fact that they're going to, help you house some people and pay you substantially to do so. The opportunity is that even on this call right now, there's, 13 people in the Zoom room. I could tell you guys everything there is to it, and I know for sure there's only going to be 1 or 2 people in any environment that are actually going to do the work. So the opportunity is crazy. Like they need us badly. Now, and again, going back to what types of houses you're going to be looking at, it doesn't matter. All you have to be able to do is when you sign your lease agreement, you have to make sure that you sign it in such a way that you could sublet. Right? They need to know that you're subletting, and you want to try to get, long-term leases, if not lease options. Right? Obviously, if you're doing lease.
I lost you again. You're going.
Nothing?
Back.
Yeah, back.
Am I back?
He left
Yeah,
out that long-term lease option.
So if you're doing lease options, make sure that you negotiate your lease options with the least amount of upfront money. Right. So when I do my lease options now, all I'm offering you is 2 months rent upfront and a token commitment someplace around $2,500. But even so, right, at $2,500, how many, depending on how deep your pockets are, will determine, how many deals you can do at any price point, right? So here's the advantage. You can just go do first and last like a renter, as long as your contract says you can sublet the property. Now you can go find, especially the larger homes, which I find are more plentiful than not, because there's not a whole lot of families nowadays that want 5-bedroom houses, even though I think they're going to become more popular. Why? Because right now, people are having to combine resources as far as housing is concerned. We're at millions of houses in terms of shortfall relative to the population that needs housing right now. And there are, because of material costs and everything else, the house construction is literally at a standstill. The only projects that are going on are projects that were already pre-planned and pre-bought. And when I mean pre-bought, materials and everything are already in place, right? So those are the obstacles, right? And I talk about the obstacles in terms of there's a way to overcome every obstacle, right? And right now we're in a waiting game, because we know that in the market as it is right now, we're calling into a disadvantage on our part. They have all the options. They have all the cards on the table, except for occasionally when you get that one person who just has that train coming down the track and they don't have any way to get out of it. But there's so many people, because of the relief and everything else that we got, some people are flush with money and they can hold on longer, which is to our disadvantage, because we're out. Excuse me, guys. Thought I turned everything on. That's that.
I like that one.
But you
Them folks stay busy, man. They stay busy, bro. Let me see what we got here. Call you later. So what we have to do now is just think outside the box. There are opportunities still to make money in this deal, but I don't know if the way we've been doing it is effective in this window, right? So look at what you're doing and, do some tweaking to it, figure out some ways, especially when it comes to, because our bottom line in this is to bring in cash flow, right? Even when we wholesale, we're trying to get 25, 5, 10, at a pop, and just, do it a couple or 3 times a month and do it like that. So what is our objective? Our objective now is to be able to produce that same thing in some sort of fashion, right? So think outside the box in terms of what you're able to do with any given house. And here's an important part. And this is what, the mentor I'm working with, this is one of the things that he told me that I thought was like, keep that in mind. When you do your financial analysis on these properties, do your financial analysis as if you had no extra tenants. Like, in other words, you're using the market rent value against what you're going to pay for the property, and it needs to make sense at the bottom line. By time you deduct your expenses of running the property, your expenses of advertising, your vacancy factor, and everything else that you use when you do your analysis, make sure that property would cash flow if you didn't have if you only had one tenant in the property, because that's usually what you're looking at, right? So if your property can stand up to that particular test, now you can look at doing everything else to stack your money on top of that. Does that make sense? Are you guys kind of getting it? You guys have any questions, any input you guys want to share?
I got a question.
Sure.
When you're doing the lease options, I was
Mhm.
talking, okay, when you do a sale, purchase sale, you have X amount of closing dates.
Yeah.
When you do the lease options, how exactly does that go? Because from my understanding, it's just like a regular lease. Do you actually do a close on it, or do you end up doing the close when you pull the option? And I'm asking that in regards to, like, you give yourself time to put your tenant buyer in there. You understand what I'm asking?
Say it again.
When you're doing the lease options, like with a regular purchase sale, you have the closing dates this date. Okay, so you got your time to find your buyer for that wholesale deal. On a lease option, it's just like a regular rent. Is that correct? And if that is the case, then what do you do? Do you outdate, post the start date or possession date or whatever? And then also, how do you do the sublet verbiage?
Okay, so the sublet verbiage is usually inherent in, if you go through your package, you probably have a contract in there that either allows or disallows subletting.
Okay.
Most of the, if you look at your state agreements, if you're using any state contracts, here's what I would suggest you do. Look at the state contracts. Look and see what it says about sublet. If you're using your own contract right now from, either from Justin or from somebody else, take that verbiage and add it to your contract. Now, obviously, it would be in your best interest to have somebody look it over, but you're only going to have to do that one time for each state. So have somebody look it over. You could use some service, online service, or some other inexpensive service to have some attorney take a look at it and sign off on it or something, keeping your costs as low as possible. But do that. And as far as, you're going to get it on the contract for as long as you possibly can while you try to find your buyer. Right. So, you want it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever you can get. Ideally, in this environment, you also want to get it exclusive. Now, it's difficult to get exclusive right now. They'll give you non-exclusive all day long. But if you're doing non-exclusive, it's dependent on you to make sure that you get your hustle on in getting it listed someplace, getting, some potential tenant buyers in place, and you have to do everything with speed right now. Because if you get a non-exclusive, you're already behind the 8 ball. But it's better than nothing, right? So with that said, what is becoming more and more vital as far as disposition goes?
What do you mean?
Right now, what really becomes vital is that you have buyers online.
Okay, yeah.
Or that you have systems online that you can activate really quickly, right? I drug my feet on a deal about a week ago, kind of didn't, I didn't hear the voicemail, and it was a really good deal. Well, in this market, really good deals last about 5 minutes. And by the time I got to it, I had lost the potential of maybe about a $25,000 hit because I had a buyer for the property, but by the time I saw it, it was already gone. Right. So there are certain tweaks that we have to do right now that we don't have the luxury of, the time and the opportunity like we did, a year and a half, 2 years ago, where we knew that we were in many cases their only option. Right now, I know, and more importantly, they know that they have options up the yin yang. They got everything from iBuyers, they'll get calls from Zillow. Zillow will send them something. We'll pay you for your
And they'll
house
let you
right
know.
now. Yep. Exactly. They'll let you know that they have, other options, and you better come correct with yours. Right. So
Exactly. Yeah.
Right now, what are we looking at? What are we looking for more than anything, right? Is motivation. Like we've got to, at this point right now in our game, we are problem solvers and nothing else. Well, marketers, obviously, but we have to figure out ways that we can solve a problem. So when I was thinking about my problem, which is cash flow, and I thought about it backwards because, you know, I have other streams of income, but real estate is my anchor, right? I have to do something in real estate that works. Are you guys still hearing me? Okay, so when I looked at special needs housing and I looked at what was possible in that arena, and I also saw that in that arena, I did not have to own the property, right? So if you think about that, that addresses the challenges that we're facing in the traditional method of what we're doing. So in all of your communities, if you know, and you may have to, you know, go onto your website, go to whoever is in charge in your of housing in your area or whatever, and find out what programs they have, because they all have programs. And the programs, every single one that I've ever seen pays above market rents for you know, boarding their people. Every single one of them. Like I've seen where, you know, the typical rent is, let's say $700 or $800. The government unit is paying $1,300, $1,400, $1,600 for the same unit. For the same unit. So, you know, if I'm you guys right now, if you're not seeing the success, you're not getting the conversations that you are, you know, reverse engineer it. Look and see. Right now, the one problem that has to be solved is housing, right? Because there's a shortage of housing, and the government knows that there's a shortage of housing. Everybody knows there's a shortage of housing. But if you play in the retail housing game, we're just not equipped, right? Because our pockets aren't long enough. There are people out there who are coming with, you know, $200,000, $300,000 down. They're overbidding a property. They understand that they're overbidding the property, but they have enough money to pay back down to the appraised value, because that's what you do it. It has to appraise, even appraising at those amounts. So what they're doing is they're paying down to the appraised value and then getting financing. Okay, did you guys hear me? Okay, yep. So they're paying down to the appraised value, but most of us, you know, if we're investors, we can't play that game. We can play that game if we want to house our family, but we can't play that game as investors. So working backwards, go to your, and you know, if you guys want to reach out or whatever, we can work on some things together. But look at that opportunity. That opportunity does not require you to purchase the property. You can go in and go to the, you know, for rent section and make sure, you know, that you negotiate in terms of what it is that you want to do. If you can put a first option, as, you know, right of first refusal, if they should decide to sell the property, that they'll come to you first. That's something you can do, right? But now you have some units that need to, that are available to provide housing for government. And this is the entire country. The entire country is trying to house people, right? And then maybe find a specialty niche within, you know, any particular area. Mine's is, you know, VA, because I'm a veteran and because I have a special place, and because whenever I go to the hospital, I see the need. Whenever I go to any VA facility, I see the need, right? So they'll pay all day long to try to get those people in some housing, right? So as a strategy, guys, it might not be a bad way to go. Right? If you're running up against roadblocks in terms of being able to really cut some deals with some people, start thinking outside the box and work from the problem back. How can I continue to maintain cash flow? How can I do it without putting a bunch of money out up front? What kind of properties am I looking for, right? And how can I get a hold of as many of those types of properties as possible? Well, if you're just looking to house somebody, you can go to the for rent section of any website, any, I say newspaper, but that's just my age showing, because I know, not a lot of people even deal with newspapers, right? But you understand what I'm saying? Whatever it is that people are advertising, now you have a larger pool that you can actually deal with the sole purpose of simply extracting an income out of there for yourself. So like a thought process. And then that process will start to lead you towards some ways. But I just want to reiterate, every municipality in the country right now has a program to provide housing. Every single one. There is not a single place that you can't do this deal as far as providing houses for special needs. Special needs that cuts off
Sure.
It was good timing, huh? Cut off.
Yeah, that's
How about now?
yeah, you're back.
good.
Will you repeat
Good.
what you were saying, please?
Okay, where was I at?
Where were you cut off?
You said every municipality
Oh,
has programs.
has programs. Every municipality. Now, the programs have levels, right? There's all the way from where you're providing all the care that they need. You're making sure that they have, all of the safety things and everything in the house. You're providing care. You're making sure they get their medications, all of that stuff. That's one level. That's a hell of a level to play. It pays well, or at least it looks like it pays well, but it's so stressful for me. My mental makeup, my emotional makeup, I really can't do that kind of stress on a continuous basis, because I know me, I'll get too involved. I'll care too much. Like, I'll give a damn, right? You have got to separate your emotions from your business when it comes to, real estate and making money. I couldn't do that. So I looked at, okay, what's the next step? So if you ratchet down at some level, there are folks who need housing that's all they need. The only thing is that you normally are going to have to provide all of the amenities, furnish the property, provide telephone, provide internet, provide all of the things that they need, and they will. And you can get, there's so much opportunity out there. But, start there. Then you can start calling on the for rents and the for sales and all of that. And you will start to be able to produce some income out of this process, right? And I'll keep you guys, in the loop about, how mine's is going. I'm currently in outreach right here in my community. And, me and Michael, we work together, Michael Goolsby, we partner up on a lot of stuff, and he's down in the Atlanta area and stuff like that. And what we're finding is that Atlanta is being gentrified tremendously. So what happens when there's gentrification? There's a lot of people now who can no longer afford to stay in their communities. They can't afford it anymore. Like, literally, there are people, especially older people in Georgia, let's say right now, that could never afford to leave. Like, they can't sell you their house. They can't lease you there. They can't do anything because they could not find a place of equivalent size or value if they ever give up what they have right now. Even if they sell their house at an attractive profit, all of that profit now has to go to get the other house. So they're right back where they started, with a much larger monthly. Okay, let me know when I'm back.
You back.
Okay, so all of those people, and especially the government agencies, are having to find ways, and keep in mind, guys, they fund these programs for these people. They fund these programs, and they have to spend the money. All the money that they don't spend, they lose. So they're incentivized and motivated to work with you once you understand what and how to do it. And that market is never ever going away, at least not in our lifetime. Most of us going to be gone by the time that those programs aren't needed anymore, if it ever gets to that, right? So just, I just want to kind of put something in your mind, just kind of, I know right now you're hitting your head up against the wall. You're putting out a lot of money for marketing and all that stuff. And the results that you're producing are marginal. You're going to contract on deals, and those contracts aren't going to close. They're not completing all the way out. You're not getting the check at the end of it, right? And in the meantime, you've been holding on because, that's the mentality of the investor, right? We're continuously grinding. We won't give up. We keep fighting. So what we need to do, though, is think strategy. What are we trying to? Yes.
No, go ahead and finish. I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
I just wanted to ask you, how do you find out more about these programs that does the works with the veterans? I mean, in your town, what steps do you take to get more information?
Yeah, there are specific steps, but if you have a veteran facility in your town, for instance, you want to contact them directly. Now, when I say contact, I mean walk into the business office and find out who handles anything to do with finding housing for the veterans.
Okay.
Find out whoever it is that's handling that. And then when you go in, just let them know that, look, I have some units and I have some interest in providing some services for veterans. How can you help? How can you help me? Or how can I help you?
Okay. Now, someone came and started talking to me when you first started off. I don't mean to have it repeated, but you said go where now in the city?
Well, in the city, you're going to go to, each city has some part of the government function that deals with housing.
Okay, you can probably Google that, right?
You can probably Google it, and you mentioned something about in your area. Always a good idea to start in your area.
Okay.
Because that way you can walk in, you can build relationship, you can get them to know you. And, when you walk in, they're like, oh, there's Aaron, look, I got something for you. And you'll also, because if you figure out how to do it, and again, there are ways to figure it out. If you figure out how to do it, you'll be one of the few people that know how to do it, right?
Right.
So because you're one of the few and you have the contact, they're going to call you first whenever the need arises.
Okay.
Aaron, I have people. Do you have room? That's the ideal scenario that we'd like to be in, especially long term, because like that, we can withstand all of the market movement and market fluctuation. The only thing we need during all these times, and I'm sure you guys will agree, is cash flow.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Nothing else matters. As long as we can figure out a way to get some cash flow, we're good.
Yeah.
And and it's not Section 8. But if you have a Section 8 office, they might be able to point you in the right direction.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So you want to start to figure out who's in charge of these housing and putting people in homes in your community.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep. And if you go to the VA directly, find out who inside the VA, because there's a person in every VA facility that's responsible for providing housing, and their hands are always tied. Like they can't run ads. They can't go out and ask for it. It's crazy the way it's set up. But in its craziness is where your opportunity lies.
All right.
Does that make sense?
So do they send out inspectors to check these houses out or something? How does that work?
They might send out an inspector to check it out. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense for them. And yeah, they'll come out. But again, you don't have to have like, specialty beds and, you just have a clean, functional facility that meets all of the needs of a normal person. And you have to provide comfort and you have to provide community. So in other words, you have to have a common meeting area, i.e. the living room. You have to have a common dining area, i.e. the dining room. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not complicated. It's just, these people just need a clean, functional, well-run situation that, that provides them with what they need on a social level and on a need for housing. That's their main criteria. That's what they're looking for these people.
So you just mainly need somebody that doesn't need it, like you said, that's not on drugs, don't need to go to the doctor and all that stuff.
Nope. You don't have to deal with it, because you understand there's a whole lot of people in let's say, in my age group, late 30s.
Right. The reason why I said that, because my brother, his son-in-law does it. He got like 8 guys, right? But he has got a lady come in and cook for him. He take him to the doctor and all that stuff. I'm like, man, I don't want to deal with all that. So it's probably a way
you don't have to deal with all that. Now he probably gets a little bit more of a chip for that, right?
He making crazy money.
Oh yeah, he gets a little bit more of a chip. The more you have to provide, the bigger the allotment is towards it from these services, right?
Yeah.
But then again, you have to think, how much am I willing to do and how much am I willing to manage? So when I think about my goals, one of my goals is to eventually the next couple of years become a digital nomad. Like a goal. Like, I want to be able to travel, go any place in the world and continue to run my business. Well, I can't do that if I'm worried about, people dying and people's needs not getting met and a bunch of employees that you know what I mean? Like, with the system I'm talking about, you basically need a handyman and a house cleaner, a housekeeper. And they come in when they come in. You need somebody to mow the lawn or whatever, right? Don't have the tenants do it because there's a liability issue. They'll ask to do it, but don't go there because now you're in liability, right? Let the tenants do exactly as described by the the governing agency. They'll tell you exactly what the tenants can and cannot do, but stay away from cross-pollinating, right?
Mm.
And for me, I knew that for me to accomplish what I want to accomplish long-term and be able to walk away from this thing, I need something that provides that requires the least amount of my day-to-day involvement and the least amount of my money in insurance.
Right.
Right? Because everything else, the insurance is outrageous right now. Like what my buddy told me he's paying for insurance on his residential assisted living. And keep in mind, this is a guy who has in one of his facilities, he has 5 beds. And those 5 beds pay anywhere from $6,000 to $16,000 a month. $6,000 to $16,000 a month they pay.
Dang.
But he's not clearing. It sounds wonderful when you hear the numbers, but when you think about the expenses, the constant maintenance, the insurance, the staff, he has a full-time staff, around the clock, not 8 hours, around the clock, many of whom are licensed and expect a certain level of income.
Mm.
So I didn't want any of that. So as I work backwards, I just looked for a category that would allow for the least resistance. Right? So right now, you guys know this. You look out and you see the homelessness in certain areas. Me and Rick, for instance, we live in Los Angeles. Everybody knows about the homelessness in Los Angeles, right? Not all of those people are deadbeats. Not all of those people are on drugs. Not all of those people are, abusers or abusive. Some of those people are just cannot afford to live any place really. Right? So there are ways that you can bridge the gap that the government is going to incentivize you handsomely in order to do so. So anyway, guys, it's 11:11. I hope, I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties, but I hope, maybe, opened up some other thought process for you, look at some opportunities to continue to, find some income for yourselves while, we're going through this market, and I know there's a lot of people that are like, you just got to do more. You just got to work harder. But at some point, it's like, how much more can you do, right? How many more leads can you buy? How many more calls can you make? There's a ceiling to that. So work with those things in mind, but also understand that there's still an opportunity out there for you to make that money. So, just think outside the box on this one. Anybody have any questions, comments, feedback, anything?
Hey, Victor, one last thing, talking about problems and opportunities. Anyone on this call or you think about wholesaling to owner occupants? I've been trying to figure that out for years and don't have a good solution.
Wholesaling to owner occupants?
Yeah, they're the ones who are paying top dollar in our market right now.
Okay. Say a little bit more about that.
So if you can lock a property up at low MLS prices, an investor's not going to want it, but an owner occupant's going to be drooling over it. How do you sell it to them without having to buy it yourself?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a challenge. Now you can do it using certain things like transactional funding, where you get it under contract and you basically sell it to them on the same day, right? There are companies, because you're going to require to do a close. Now, if there's no seasoning required in regards to turning it over, and you have to look at each individual area may be different, right? But typically you can just turn it over in the same day, an hour from now. You close one and then you close the other. The challenge with it is that you're going to get a lot of pushback from the traditional real estate agents and brokers and everything out there, because unless you buy it yourself, and in some cases you have to buy it yourself and you have to hold it for a period of time. Now you can do that using other people's money, but now it obviously makes the numbers more difficult, because now you've got closing costs and you have everything associated with that. So now your entry point has to be substantially lower, right? Because
exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, the overhead of buying and then reselling is too high.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, it's like you said, you've been having challenges with it because it's a challenging process, because not only are you up against a financial obstacle, hurdle that you have to overcome, but you're also in a marketplace where, realtors and brokers are, they're not trying to cooperate with you right now. They don't have to, and they know it. So you could get yourself in a real pickle if that's kind of, where you're focusing. But like I said, if there's enough room in the transaction, then, it's probably something you can pull off, but there has to be room, because once you do your analysis, you're going to have to account for all of the cost overruns.
Yeah, agreed. So again, the holding cost is too high, and then trying to get a wholesale fee out of an owner occupant. First of all, they don't understand that very well. And like you said, the financing that they're using is not going to allow that unless it's outside of closing.
And every realtor or broker that they speak to is going to poo-poo your idea to them and move them out of the wholesale environment. Because they want that deal for themselves, so they're not going to support you in any way. So it's a real uphill climb. I'm not saying it can't be done. Anything can be done, right? But I definitely wouldn't anchor myself to that like a technique in order to feed myself every day.
Oh no, I agree. Definitely not. I just wanted to see if anyone else had thoughts on that or have successfully done that.
Yeah. Not in this environment. I've done it before. Where I've done what is called a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, and that's the process you're referring to, where you buy it at a wholesale price that allows you to turn around, market it at as a retail end customer and keep the chip in the middle, right?
Right.
Yeah. More and more difficult, only because it's like, if people are out there who don't know what the real estate market is doing, then their head is buried in the sand, and I'm really trying to talk to them too, because everybody knows what's going on in the market.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So unfortunately, that's about as good as I can get on an answer for you on that. The one thing I was gonna stress though is, you guys want to do your analysis, your financial analysis on every one of these properties now. Like, it's becoming more and more important that you analyze the property for cash flow and sustainability. The 1% rule is in full effect. If you guys don't know what the 1% rule is, and in fact, it's even adjusting too. But the 1% rule states that for every $100,000 of cost of the property, you need to be getting 1% in rent. So if you're buying it for $100,000, you have to get at least $1,000 in market rents for that property for every $100,000 that you spend. So it gets a little bit difficult. So at $300,000, you need $3,000 a month in rents in that area. Not easy to find. Right? So do your analysis, make sure that this thing, after you subtract out for the cost of closing the deal, for regular maintenance, for everything else that goes along with having the property, make sure that you can still get some sort of return. If you could still get some sort of return, then you could sell the deal. And we're really having to sell deals right now based on the return. Like, if people aren't seeing the return, there's too many people that can show a return, right? Especially if they have inside track on anything of value. So do your analysis, make sure that it works. If you're going to do the special needs housing scenario, make sure that the property works with only one normal tenant first, and that would make sense. If it doesn't work with one normal tenant, if the numbers don't look good there, another thing, I just want to add this real quick, that's happening, and you guys have probably noticed it. Before, the housing authorities would not sign off on you adding a room in the garage and using it as rental and all of that stuff. Well, all of that is changing right now. In LA, they're signing off on permits to rent, different areas of the house as rental property, because they're trying to do whatever they can to step into the housing crisis. Right? So that's another thing that works to your advantage. If you can go into a place and you can set it up so it's properly, because you can take a garage, and if no garaging is needed, and many of these people don't need garages, right? If no garaging is needed, you can literally turn it into 2 more rooms if you do it right. So that's the opportunity, right? The opportunity right now for us, I think, is in stepping into this housing crisis that we're dealing with. If we can figure out a way to step into that housing crisis, there's a whole lot of people that will pay us regularly and consistently in your mailbox every month. That's what we're looking for, right? All right, guys. Aaron, CD, Chris, Ed, Jason, Jonathan, Mike Goolsby, Muhammad, and my man Rick. I appreciate you guys coming through, man. I know we did no role play on this call whatsoever.
Oh, good stuff.
But
Good information, bro.
Good stuff, though.
Hey, Victor, can I ask a quick?
Sure.
Great. I got a situation where I have a house under contract and got a hold of a wholesaler, and I had it at 132, and he said, his price was 85 to 115. So I went and renegotiated to 115. She was good with that. I can get that.
All right.
What's the best way to handle this with the wholesaler? I think I have a chance to stay into it with a JV. or just assign it. I was just wanted your opinion on what you would do.
Okay, so you the partner that you're with, he's direct to seller.
I had the contract, and I went to a wholesaler, and that's what they said. They'd be in between 85 and 115.
Okay, so that's their price.
Yeah, so I got it at 115.
So what do you feel you can put it out in the marketplace for?
Well, it definitely needs to be working rehab, but I'm thinking like 175 to low twos, because they did just that. They closed off the garage, and they're going to make it a 3-bedroom instead of a 2, and add another bathroom to it.
Okay, all right.
So that's what needed. So yeah.
Okay, so but they haven't done that yet.
Nope, I just got the agreement today, and I'm going to go visit the wholesaler this afternoon and try and get.
Do they have plans and stuff and permits or whatever they need in place for the upgrade?
I don't have anything like that. All I have was the agreement for the house at 132, and I got it to 115. I think it'd be just best to maybe just assign it for 5 or 10 and be on my way.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Stay out of the nest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to get stung with all the other. There's a lot of moving parts, right?
And there are in this one. I looked at it today, so
let us know what you find out on it, because if I'm you, I'm and I'm doing this with pretty much anything. I'm looking for the path of least resistance to the check.
Yeah.
Right. And in your case, I'd get it under contract and see if you can move that contract, make sure that everything is in place, make sure there's no landmines waiting for, the next guy or whatever. You can do that when you go and visit the property and everything. Make sure that if there's any permits or anything like that required, that they've been either applied for or in process or have already been done or whatever, because otherwise now you're just kind of, selling a problem, and it could come back to bite you in the behind later, right? Because if whatever you're responsible for, letting them know, like you have a fiduciary even as an investor.
So this morning, when I was talking to him, I said, hey, I wouldn't mind doing it for like an assignment for about 5,000. He's like, oh, we can do that, So I know he said, it happens so fast. I'm like, well, what about a JV?
Right. So whenever you're asking for an assignment and like that, never name your price.
Learn that today.
Right.
Yeah,
you said 5,000 and he jumped at it. Here's one thing you knew immediately. Damn. And if he jumped at 5, you could have probably got 10.
Missed that one.
But oh well, shoot, everything happens for a reason. Get your money and keep it moving, man. For sure.
Great day. Thank you, sir.
All right, you guys. Hey, you guys have a great rest of the week. Thank you guys for showing up and showing out. Really appreciate you. And let's go find a way to make some money.
that's right.
All right.
Thank you, Victor.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Victor.
You're welcome. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.